Have you ever pondered how a people could not only survive, but thrive amidst a world perpetually encircled by ice and the cold embrace of death? In the longest nights of the north, when the wind howled like a ghostly army, and the bitter chill cut through flesh like an invisible blade, the Vikings did not merely endure. They found strength not in brute force, but in ancient wisdom and an unyielding spirit that defies imagination. This journey will embark on a singular journey with you, unveiling their 10 greatest secrets of survival, from the fortress-like warmth of their longhouses, the woolen armor that shielded them from blizzards, to the hearty feasts that fueled their legendary conquests. You will discover how they forged warriors in the frozen wastes, wielded natural medicine to battle unseen illnesses, and navigated vast icy oceans by the silent whispers of the stars. And most profoundly, how their equitable legal system, the Thing, wove a tapestry of order that became the very soul of their identity. So, relax your mind, breathe deeply, and allow my voice to guide you into a world where history isn't just dry facts, but a mesmerizing tapestry of contemplative tales. If this journey resonates with you, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next explorations, and leave a comment below telling me where in the world you are listening from and at what moment. Let us together delve into this magnificent legacy, finding serenity in the echoes of ancient sagas.
The first night of winter didn't arrive as a gentle whisper, my friend. It descended upon Unforgiving village like Thor's own hammer, smashing through the thin veil of autumn. You felt its freezing breath seep through every layer of your clothes, plunging directly into your very core. Outside, the wind howled relentlessly, akin to a legion of spectral wolves desperately trying to tear down the fragile peace of our longhouse. The air inside, thick with the scent of smoke from the central hearth, was a familiar aroma. Yet tonight it carried an urgency, a chilling reminder that this was a battle for survival. Streaks of ice began to crystallize on the small, high windows, creeping like silver serpents, slowly extending their coils, consuming the last vestiges of twilight. You glanced at Thrain, your young nephew, curled near the fire, his deep blue eyes reflecting the flickering flames, and you couldn't help but wonder if he felt the unyielding grip of the cold, an invisible iron hand squeezing the last warmth from the world. People say that the rivers had already transformed into swords of glass overnight, and rumors whispered of reindeer trapped mid-blizzard, frozen stiff like eternal ice statues, sending a shiver down your spine. Only these ancient walls truly know how many winters have passed, how many lives have been swallowed by this unforgiving harshness. A secret, buried deep beneath the sands of time, reveals how your ancestors learned to seal them, protecting fragile lives like Thrain's from the creeping frost, a timeless wisdom etched into the very stones of this settlement, a legacy as profound as the deepest fjord, whispering tales of survival in every draught. Unforgiving village, nestled deep within a fjord, was a small, resilient Viking community cradled by mountains that stood like silent, formidable guardians. Yet these same majestic peaks, now dusted with snow, also served as impenetrable walls, sealing off the world as winter's icy embrace tightened. The narrow sea lane, once a bustling artery of trade and adventure, was now a solid sheet of ice, transforming the village into a solitary island, an isolated fortress amidst a vast white wasteland. You could practically feel the village closing in around you, a sense of confinement settling heavy on your chest, like a bird trapped in a cage of snow. Every creak of the longhouse timbers, every whisper of the wind through the eaves, underscored this profound isolation. The very air, once crisp with the promise of autumn harvests, now carried a biting edge, sharp as a freshly honed axe blade. You found yourself constantly scanning the horizon, not for ships, but for any sign of a break in the relentless, encroaching chill, a desperate search for a glimmer of hope in a world turning steadily to gray, a landscape where even the air felt frozen. This cold wasn't just a season, it was a living entity, an ancient deity demanding sacrifice, breathing icy warnings into every corner of your world.
The final preparations for winter were a desperate dance against time, a race where the stakes were life and death. You watched as Jarl Bjorn Ironside, the village chief, moved through the clamor with an unyielding gaze, his presence a beacon of resolve amidst the mounting tension. His silhouette against the dim light of the hearth was that of a true leader, a towering oak against a raging storm. His eagle-sharp eyes missed nothing as he personally oversaw the last critical tasks before the ice's grip became absolute. You saw him run his calloused fingers along the smallest cracks in the longhouse walls, the places where the cold relentlessly sought passage, like a hungry ghost searching for an opening, eager to feast on warmth. His meticulous touch, his unwavering attention to detail, was a silent sermon, a powerful reminder that in this unforgiving land, every single crack, no matter how tiny, held the potential for ruin, for winter to claim its next victim. His wisdom was a deep, silent well from which all drew strength, a reservoir of ancestral knowledge passed down through generations, each drop more precious than gold. Even his quiet nods carried the weight of ages, like the slow, deliberate turning of the earth itself, signaling acceptance of their formidable challenge. People often joked that Jarl Bjorn knew the Longhouses' timbers better than his own sons, a testament to his profound connection to their shared shelter, a bond as ancient as the rocks themselves. Outside, the villagers moved with a frenetic energy, their breath pluming like tiny clouds of defiance in the frigid air. The rhythmic thud of axes as men desperately chopped the last available firewood from the snow-laden forest echoed thinly across the frozen landscape, sounds that were growing more sparse with each passing hour, like the last gasps of a dying season. You could hear the strained voices of the men urging each other on, their calls raspy and hoarse with cold and effort, voices like sandpaper rubbing against the raw wind, a chorus of grim determination. Each armload of wood carried back to the longhouse was a small victory, a precious offering to the voracious appetite of winter, a sacrifice to appease the icy gods. The stack outside the longhouse grew like a hungry monster's horde, never quite enough, always demanding more, an insatiable hunger mirrored by the encroaching cold. Women, their hands already chafed red from the biting air, sorted dried fish and smoked meats, their movements precise and practiced like ancient rituals, each gesture a silent prayer for sustenance. Children, bundled in layers of wool and fur, darted between adults, their laughter surprisingly bright, tiny sparks of defiance in the encroaching gloom, reminding everyone what they were fighting for. A future warmer than the present.
One might even say their energy was fueled by the sheer knowledge that stillness meant surrender, a thought as chilling as the air itself, a truth etched into the very marrow of their bones. Thorkel, the village's elder carpenter, his hands gnarled like ancient roots but his eyes sparkling with a knowing wisdom, diligently guided a group of younger men.
They meticulously stuffed dry moss and clay into every tiny fissure of the longhouse, a painstaking task that required patience and precision, a sacred art passed down through generations. "This dry moss," he explained, his voice a low rumble. "It is our silent guardian, trapping the precious warmth within these walls, a whispered secret against the clamor of the storm." He made it clear that this wasn't just busy work. It was a sacred duty, ensuring that the longhouse remained an impenetrable maze for the cold, a labyrinth designed to defeat its insidious advance, an intricate dance with the elements. People whispered that Thorkel's wisdom was gifted to him by the very trees, their secrets flowing through his blood, as if he could hear the ancient whispers of the forest, guiding his every careful movement. He would often chuckle, a sound like dry leaves rustling in a gentle breeze, and say, "A good seal, my young ones, is worth more than a dozen swords in winter," his words holding the weight of countless icy nights. Was he talking about the longhouse, or perhaps the spirit of the people, their collective will to survive? You often found yourself pondering Thorkel's cryptic pronouncements, like unraveling a complex knot in the fading light, each thread a story untold. Anxiety, a constant, low hum, permeated the very air you breathed, though everyone tried to mask it with bustling activity. You could feel the gnawing worry about dwindling food supplies, a cold dread twisting in your gut, sharper than any winter wind, a serpent coiling in your stomach. The autumn harvest had been meager, a cruel twist of fate, a brutal jest from the gods, and the late-season hunts had yielded little, a stark omen of the lean months ahead, painting a bleak picture of the coming days. It was as if the land itself had held its breath, refusing to yield its bounty, hoarding its secrets beneath layers of frost. Elda, the woman entrusted with the village's meager food stores, moved with a solemn grace, her hands dry and worn like ancient parchment, her eyes heavy with thought, carrying the burden of their collective survival, a weight as tangible as the earth itself. You watched her carefully, almost reverently, inspecting each barrel of dried fish and salted meat, her gaze intensely calculating, as if each piece held the very destiny of the village, a fragile hope encased in salt and smoke. "Every single bite is another day lived," she murmured, her voice a raspy whisper, like the wind sighing through a narrow crack in the longhouse wall. A somber melody. Her words hung in the chilly air, heavy with unspoken truth, a stark reminder of the precarious balance of their existence, a tightrope walk over the abyss of winter. It was a chilling testament to the fact that even the smallest morsel held the weight of 1,000 unspoken prayers, a silent plea to the indifferent sky. A poignant moment solidified this unspoken fear. Thrain, his small face etched with a child's innocent concern, asked his grandmother if there would be enough food. She merely stroked his hair. Her silence spoke volumes, a response more eloquent than any sermon. But the tight squeeze of her hand on his shoulder was a gesture that transcended words, a raw testament to the harsh reality that you and everyone else in Raven Village understood intimately. This wasn't a question with a simple answer. It was a desperate plea echoing a universal anxiety, a fragile hope clinging to the edge of a looming precipice, a whisper against the roaring storm. The collective sigh of the villagers, barely audible above the crackling fire, felt like the very breath of a dying dream, a lament for the fading warmth. Perhaps it was the sigh of a community steeling itself for what was to come, a shared understanding that their fate was now in the hands of the gods and their own ancient wisdom. A dance between faith and grit. What must it feel like, you mused, to have your very existence depend on the unpredictable whims of nature, a giant playing dice with your fragile life? The shadows cast by the flickering fire seemed to lengthen, stretching like weary limbs, reaching out to embrace the deepening gloom, mirroring the growing anxiety in every heart.
The subtle signs of weakening, the early whispers of winter's insidious invasion, were already making themselves known. Thrain's dry cough, cutting through the quiet of the night despite his grandmother's careful attempts to muffle it with a thick fur, was enough to make your heart jump, a small, sharp stab of fear. The cold wasn't just an external foe, a snarling beast pounding at the walls. It was insidious, creeping into the very marrow of bones, beginning its slow, chilling infiltration into the body itself, a silent poison seeping into their very being. It felt like a disease, unseen but palpable, working its way through the very fabric of their lives, dissolving their strength. You observed Jarl Bjorn Ironside sitting by the fire, his gaze lost in the dancing flames, his thoughts undoubtedly heavy, a silent battle raging within him. He seemed to carry the weight of the entire fjord on his broad shoulders, a burden visible only in the lines etched around his eyes, a map of his worries. A palpable silence, unlike the vibrant clamor of summer, hung over the Longhouse, heavy and oppressive, a blanket woven from unspoken dread. This silence was not peaceful. It was a suffocating shroud, a dark curtain hiding the immense challenges that lay ahead, the unspoken fears that clung to every shadow, preparing to reveal themselves with the full fury of the coming months like ancient predators awakening. It was a silence that spoke volumes, a narrative woven from the unsaid, a chilling prologue to the harsh tale of winter. As night deepened, the wind outside began to howl with renewed ferocity, like an enraged beast attempting to swallow Raven village whole, its hunger insatiable. You pulled your fur blanket higher, desperately trying to hoard the last vestiges of warmth, a futile gesture against an unstoppable force. The very fabric of your world seemed to shrink around you, a shrinking island of warmth in an ocean of ice relentlessly expanding. Beyond the thick walls, people say that the spirits of winter were dancing wildly on the mountain peaks, carrying with them a chilling curse of ice and endless darkness, their laughter echoing in the biting wind. They were the unseen architects of their suffering, a reminder of the raw, untamed power of the North, a force indifferent to human plight. You closed your eyes, knowing that the true journey of survival, the arduous test of endurance, had only just begun. The fate of your community, and indeed your own, hung precariously in the balance, a fragile ship on a tempestuous sea, tossed by unseen currents far from any safe harbor. Each breath you took felt like a conscious act of defiance against the biting cold, a small victory in a battle that had just begun, a tiny ember in a vast, dark night. This story, you realized, was not just about surviving the cold, it was about the resilience of the human spirit, a testament to the ancient skills that kept the spark of life alive against all odds, a flicker of light in the heart of the deepest winter. It was a journey into the heart of winter and into the soul of what it means to truly endure, to find warmth not just in fire, but in the shared struggle, in the whispers of ancestors, and in the quiet strength of community. The night deepened, and you drifted closer to the edge of sleep, the distant howl of the wind, a lullaby to the brave.
You once might have thought a longhouse was just a big hut. A profound mistake, my friend. It is an unyielding embrace, the beating heart of life upon which every one of us Vikings depends. In the dense, unyielding darkness of winter, when everything outside transforms into a stark, lifeless canvas of black and white, this very structure stands as a guiding beacon leading the way for hope.
You can feel the warmth radiating from its thick earthen walls, from the tightly packed layers of sod on the roof, like the warm flesh of Mother Earth herself, shielding us from the cold, which bites like a silent, relentless sculptor working to reshape the world. The air, though thick with wood smoke, hums with a vibrant energy, a testament to the collective breath of those who dwell within. Every creak of the ancient timbers is a sigh of contentment, a silent song of survival in a world that whispers only of frost. It's a symphony of human breath, shared warmth, and the quiet determination to outlast the longest night. Thorkel, the old carpenter, his hands gnarled like the roots of an ancient oak, but his eyes sharp with an almost uncanny wisdom, will take you on a journey through the Longhouse, revealing every minute detail you'd never noticed before. He'll explain how they meticulously chose the oldest, strongest oak or ash trees from the deep forests, trees that had already weathered countless seasons, then painstakingly split them in half to form the massive load-bearing timbers. "We choose the stubborn ones," Thorkel chuckled, a sound like dry leaves rustling, "the ones that have already seen enough winters to know a thing or two about standing firm. Much like some of us old-timers, wouldn't you say?" He gave you a knowing wink, a flicker of humor in his ancient eyes. "These aren't just logs," he'd assure you, "but the skeletons of giants, holding up the sky itself, each one imbued with the spirit of the forest they once stood in. You could almost feel the rough, unyielding texture of the bark against your palm, the very essence of strength resonating from deep within the wood." He'd lead you to the heart of the structure, where the enormous central dome, the main beam, stretched the entire length of the longhouse, a spinal column supporting the intricate ribcage of rafters. "This," he declared, tapping the massive timber with a weathered knuckle, "is where the stories live. Every dent, every scratch is a whisper from generations past." The dome wasn't merely structural. It was the artery carrying life through the Longhouse, a silent witness to countless meals, births, and sagas whispered in the flickering firelight. Around it, you'd notice smaller beams, carefully notched and fitted, forming a network of support like veins and capillaries, ensuring stability. The very air around the beam felt heavier, imbued with the weight of history and the silent promises of survival. Then your gaze would be drawn to the walls, not just simple wooden planks, but thick, double-layered barriers with earth and turf packed tightly between them. "Think of it," Thorkel would muse, his voice a low rumble like distant thunder, as the longhouse pulling the warm blanket of Mother Earth over itself. This ingenious design wasn't merely about insulation, it was a profound understanding of nature. The earth, as cold as it seemed on the outside, was a natural reservoir of warmth, slowly releasing its stored heat into the interior. You could almost feel the gentle, sustained release of warmth, a subtle, comforting emanation that belied the freezing temperatures beyond the walls. It was a secret whispered by the very soil beneath your feet, a lesson in humility learned from the land itself. The roof, too, was a marvel. Layers of turf, sod, and thatch, sometimes with wildflowers and grasses growing upon them, transforming the longhouse into a living extension of the landscape. "When the snow falls," Thorkel explained, his gaze distant, "it only adds another layer to our shield. The longhouse becomes a part of the mountain, indistinguishable from the earth around it. Sometimes, when the snow is deep, it looks like the longhouse is simply melted back into the land, a trick of the eye." This blending with nature wasn't just camouflage, it was a symbiosis, the longhouse drawing strength from the very ground it stood on. You imagined a lone Viking returning home, seeing only a mound of snow, then discerning the faint wisp of smoke, a fragile flag of life in the desolate expanse. Inside, the ingenious design continued. Small, high windows, usually covered with stretched animal bladders or thin, translucent sheets of horn, allowed just enough light to filter in during the day, casting soft, dappled patterns on the earthen floor. They were like the eyes of the Longhouse, gazing out at the harsh world, but keeping its secrets safe within. The smoke from the central hearth would gracefully ascend through a cleverly designed luft, the smoke hole at the apex of the roof, carrying away the pungent smoke while minimizing heat loss. It's the lungs of the Longhouse, breathing for us, keeping the air fresh, but only just enough to remind us of the fire's persistent heat. You won't find a sudden draft here, only a gentle, rhythmic breath. This was not merely ventilation, it was a careful calibration, a delicate balance between necessity and comfort.
As Thorkell continued his detailed explanations, you found yourself marveling at the simplicity and profound effectiveness of it all. No complex machinery, no elaborate calculations, just generations of accumulated wisdom passed down through observation and necessity. Each joint, each lashing, each layer of material spoke of a deep respect for the elements and an intimate knowledge of how to bend them to human will. The central fire, the undeniable heart, not only provided warmth, but also served as the primary light source, its flickering flames casting dancing shadows that seemed to tell stories of their own on the rough-hewn walls. The air, heavy with the scent of burning wood, damp earth, and the faint, sweet aroma of dried herbs hanging from the rafters, created a unique perfume of home and survival. It was a smell that promised comfort and resilience, a fragrant blanket against the outside world. The Longhouse was more than mere structure. It was a microcosm of Viking society itself. Families lived side by side on raised platforms, their shared body heat a collective furnace, a living shield against the frost's relentless assault. The soft murmur of voices, like a gentle stream flowing over smooth stones, filled the cavernous space, a comforting sound that chased away the oppressive silence of the outside world. Here, meals were shared, sagas were recited, and the young learned from the old. You could imagine the laughter of children echoing off the timbered walls, the deep voices of warriors recounting daring tales, the rhythmic hum of spinning wheels and looms, all weaving together into a tapestry of daily life that defied the brutal grip of winter. It was a place where bonds were forged, strengthened by the shared experience of enduring the unforgiving cold together. "Every creak you hear," Thorkell would say, gesturing around the Longhouse with a sweeping hand, "is not weakness, my friend. It is the Longhouse breathing, singing its ancient song of survival. It's an ancient lullaby for those who know how to listen." The weight of this wisdom pressed in on you, a profound realization that this structure was not just inanimate wood and earth, but a living entity, a silent partner in their perpetual battle against the cold. The very act of living within its walls, of sharing its warmth and its breath, created an unbreakable bond between the people and their home. Outside, the wind might howl relentlessly, a chorus of unseen spirits trying to find a way in. But inside, the Longhouse stood firm, a steadfast guardian. You could hear the muffled cries of the storm, but they seemed distant, almost a part of a forgotten dream, unable to penetrate the thick, insulating layers. Jarl Bjorn Ironside is constantly reminding everyone to instantly seal the heavy doors behind them whenever someone enters or exits. Every gust of cold air that slips in is a precious waste of energy, a stolen breath from their collective warmth. The weighty, timbered door of the Longhouse slams shut behind you with a reverberating thud, an echoing sound like a distant peal of thunder. Not just a closure, but a declaration. That is the very sound of safety, a profound barrier against the relentless, unforgiving elements. You realize that every single action,
Every small effort contributes to the collective survival of this resilient community. The quiet murmur of voices, the rhythmic sounds of daily life all blend into a comforting hum, a constant reassurance that you are not alone in this fight. As night descends, deeper and darker still, the longhouse transforms into a warm cocoon, shielding you from the glacial world outside. You hear the rhythmic crackle of the burning wood, the steady breathing of the livestock, and occasionally the soft murmuring of ancient tales whispered by mothers to their children. In this harsh world, you understand the longhouse is more than just a dwelling. It is a fierce declaration of resilience by the Vikings against the overwhelming dominance of the cold, a living testament to the ancient wisdom that has survived for generations, a tangible echo of lives lived and battles won against the brutal heart of winter. And as you finally drift toward sleep, nestled in the communal warmth, you realize Thorkel's quietest wisdom. This longhouse, in all its simplicity, is not just a shield against the elements, but a silent keeper of dreams, where every creak and groan is a whispered promise that no matter how cold the night, the dawn will always find you safe within its ancient embrace. It is a profound truth, a secret woven into the very timbers, that only those who truly understand the silent language of stone and wood can ever fully grasp.
In this world dominated by ice, clothing isn't merely something you wear. It's your final layer of armor, a fragile, desperate border between the searing agony of frostbite and the cold, unblinking stare of oblivion. You'll quickly discover that even the smallest gap, a single thread of thin fabric, can serve as an open invitation for the grim reaper to knock at your door, his chilling fingers already reaching for your very breath. This is where the ancient skills of weaving and tailoring transcend mere craft, transforming into an urgent, visceral art of survival, a desperate gamble with your own life as the ultimate stake, where failure means an icy, eternal sleep. The biting wind outside, a ravenous beast with razor-sharp fangs, always searches for weakness, for a single chink in your defense, and your garments are its only impenetrable barrier, a silent scream of defiance against oblivion. Every stitch, every fold, every choice of material becomes a silent prayer for warmth, a desperate, echoing plea for another dawn, for another chance at breath in this frozen hell, a battle cry whispered on frozen lips. This isn't just about comfort. It's about the raw, guttural fight for your next heartbeat, a life or death struggle where every fiber, every thread, every inch of hide matters more than gold or glory. The distinction between materials, between what lives and what dies in this brutal environment, becomes as clear as the icy breath you exhale into the frigid air, a visible testament to nature's cruel, unyielding lessons, a truth written in frost upon the very land. Lina, a woman whose hands are as calloused as ancient bark from countless hours of tireless toil, her fingers nimble and strong from manipulating endless threads, but whose eyes gleam with an almost unsettling perceptiveness, a wisdom that seems to peer directly into your soul, will introduce you to this stark, unvarnished reality, a truth carved into the very bones of this land, a secret whispered by the biting winds themselves across centuries. She'll hold up a piece of cotton fabric, thin and deceptive, already soaked and heavy with water, its fibers clinging with a deceptive weight that feels like the chilling embrace of a watery grave, promising only a slow, inevitable demise. Lina will then explain her voice grave and resonant like the deep rumble of a distant avalanche, echoing the weight of countless warnings from the past. This is the treachery of a false friend. It will draw the very warmth from your body with the cunning of a thief, leaving you nothing but an empty, shivering shell, transforming you into a walking block of ice, a frozen monument to foolish choices, a testament to its silent, deadly betrayal. The words hang in the air, heavy with the weight of generations of bitter experience, a chilling warning whispered from countless forgotten graves, from those who learned too late the fatal lessons of the cold. Conversely, a damp piece of wool, though wet and heavy, miraculously retains an astonishing amount of warmth, clinging to your skin like a loyal companion, a small miracle of the North, a defiance of all logic in a world where logic often bends to the elements. "It's like liquid gold," Lina would murmur, her fingers worn smooth by endless labor, tracing the rough texture of the wool, a touch as gentle as a summer breeze amidst the perpetual winter. It breathes with you, it works with you, it defies the cold even when soaked through to the bone. People say that the wool from our sheep carries the stubborn spirit of the mountains themselves, a gift from the gods, a silent blessing woven into every strand. This intrinsic quality of wool, its ability to insulate even when wet, is a lifeline, a silent promise of survival in a landscape that offers no second chances. You could almost feel the subtle prickle of its fibers against your skin, a comforting presence, a whisper of warmth against the relentless chill. The very air around it seemed to hum with a quiet energy, a testament to its vital importance. Lina will then guide you through the intricate, almost ritualistic process of turning raw wool into the very fabric of survival, a transformation as profound and mysterious as alchemy, turning common fleece into life-saving warmth. You'll witness how the coarse and greasy fleece, still carrying the scent of the flock in the open plains, is first meticulously cleaned, a process that smells faintly of lanolin and damp earth, a primal scent of the land, yet somehow promises future warmth, a fragrant harbinger of comfort and safety. Then the arduous task of carding begins, where the tangled fibers are painstakingly straightened and aligned, transformed into fluffy clouds of potential, light as feathers, ready for the spinner's touch, a whisper of warmth to come, a soft, inviting promise. The rhythmic hum of the spinning wheel fills the longhouse, a meditative drone that speaks of countless hours of diligent, patient labor, each thread a delicate line of defense against the encroaching frost, a promise spun into existence against the vast emptiness of winter.
Lina's fingers, dancing like spiders over their looms, guide the yarn into tight, even weaves, creating a fabric that is both dense and surprisingly breathable, a masterpiece of humble engineering born from necessity and innate skill. "It's a dance," she'd explain, her eyes fixed on the shuttle, moving with the grace of a seasoned warrior in a silent battle for warmth, between the strength of the fiber and the wisdom of the hand, a knowledge passed down through the very blood of our ancestors. Every pattern, every weave holds a silent story, a secret whispered by the sheep who bore the fleece and the women who turned their sacrifice into life, into survival itself. You would find yourself mesmerized by the hypnotic rhythm, the steady click-clack of the loom, a heartbeat of resilience echoing through the vast space of the longhouse, a sound that promises continuity and endurance. Beyond wool, Lina will reveal the profound, almost sacred importance of treated hides and furs, the ultimate outer layer, the impenetrable shield against the North's relentless, soul-crushing fury. You'll learn about the painstaking, multi-stage process of tanning animal skins, from reindeer elk, and even the occasional bear or wolf. This isn't a quick task, she'd assure you with a wry smile, a knowing glint in her ancient eyes, betraying countless hours spent at this demanding craft, but a long, often smelly ritual involving brain tanning or smoke tanning, processes that infuse the hide with durability and suppleness, transforming raw, stiff hides into pliable, durable leather, a metamorphosis from death to defiant life, a testament to human ingenuity. The air outside might bite, but untreated leather bites back even harder. We teach it manners. We turn its anger into our shield, its stubbornness into our strength. The cured hides, once stiff and unyielding as winter's frozen grip, become soft as a lover's touch, yet strong enough to deflect the sharpest winds and driving snow, a whisper of comfort against a howling storm, a physical manifestation of protection. Furs, with their thick, dense insulating properties, are meticulously sewn onto the exterior of parkas or used to line mittens and boots, creating a cocoon of insulating threads, a truly impenetrable barrier, a second skin against death itself, a luxurious defense. The soft, fragrant aroma of treated leather and cured fur fills the air around Lina's workstation, a powerful, earthy scent of protection, a primal balm for the soul, a scent of security that anchors you to the present. People say that these hides, once living, absorb the very essence of the animal's spirit, lending courage and strength to the wearer in the face of the elements, a subtle magic infused into every fiber. You'll quickly understand that Viking clothing is not about fashion or fleeting trends. It's about an unwavering, almost religious commitment to survival, a deep reverence for every resource, a philosophy etched into every fiber of their being. The tunic, often made of rough, durable linen or wool, forms the first layer, designed to wick away moisture and provide a foundational warmth, a canvas for resilience against the cold's insidious creep. Over this, a thicker woolen tunic or shirt, perhaps with intricate patterns passed down through generations, each stitch a story, offers a second layer of insulation, a comforting embrace against the biting air. Then comes the trousers, made from sturdy wool or leather, often tied at the ankles to prevent snow from creeping in, a fortress for your legs, sealing them off from the merciless ground. But the true masterpiece, the crown jewel of winter's defiance, is the parka. A long hooded coat, typically made from multiple layers of wool, with an outer shell of treated animal hide or a specialized tight weave wool that repels snow like a wizard's shield, impenetrable and strong. The hood, often lined with dense, luxurious fur, is designed to protect the face and neck, creating a personal, mobile sanctuary, a warm cave in a blizzard, allowing you to breathe freely even when the world outside screams. This isn't just fabric, Lina would explain, holding up a beautifully finished parka, a work of art born of dire necessity. It's a living tapestry woven with the harshness of winter and the enduring spirit of our people. Each thread holds a prayer, each seam a promise of survival, a defiance whispered into the very heart of the cold. Only those who have faced winter's true fury can understand its silent language, its demand for respect and preparation. The women of the Longhouse, with their unflappable patience that seems to stretch into eternity and hands that move with the precision of ancient clockwork, are the true architects of this woolen armor. Their needles, often crafted from bone or antler, polished smooth by generations of use, fly through the thick fabrics, creating stitches so tight they are almost invisible, leaving no gap for the cold to exploit, forming an intricate dance of practicality and art, a silent ballet of survival performed daily.
They understand the profound nuances of fit, how a garment must allow for unrestricted movement, especially during hunting or foraging, where a single hindered step could mean disaster. yet remain snug enough to trap every precious wisp of body heat. They know the subtle art of shaping, ensuring that cuffs are tight to keep warmth in, sealing your wrists like a protective charm, and hoods are deep enough to shield the face from biting winds, a fortress around your head, turning your breath back upon your face for warmth. Even the toggle closures, carved from bone or wood, simple yet ingenious, are masterpieces of functional design, easily manipulated even with numb, fumbling fingers, a testament to ingenious simplicity born from harsh realities. Their work is a silent symphony of dedication, a testament to the fact that survival is a communal effort, each skill contributing to the greater defiant whole, a bulwark against despair, a shared burden, and a shared triumph. The air in their workspace hums with a quiet intensity, punctuated by the rhythmic snip of shears, the soft scrape of needles against fabric, and the gentle sighs of concentration, all weaving into an ambient lullaby of creation, a constant background hum of life. You could almost feel the rough yet comforting texture of a freshly made wool tunic against your skin, a second skin of warmth that breathes with you, the supple strength of leather boots protecting your feet, grounding you firmly to the earth, and the encompassing warmth of a fur-lined parka, a grand embrace of safety, sealing you off from the world's hostility. The wool, even when damp from exertion after a long hunt or trek, would miraculously retain its magical ability to insulate, a profound difference from the clammy, lifeless chill of modern fabrics, a whispered secret of the ancient world, known only to those who truly lived by its rules. This was not just passive protection, it was an active embrace of the elements, turning the cold from an overwhelming enemy into a formidable yet surmountable challenge. A dance with death where you lead, dictating the terms. Each garment was designed for a specific purpose, allowing for dexterity when manipulating tools or weapons, crucial for survival, while still providing essential warmth. Every minute detail, from the reinforced seams that never unravel to the toggle closures that never fail, speaks to a profound pragmatism and an intimate understanding of their harsh surroundings, a wisdom born of necessity and untold suffering. People say that their meticulously crafted parkas are so resilient they can withstand even the fiercest blizzards, blunting the wind's sharp edges, effectively transforming the wearer into an almost indistinguishable part of the landscape, an invulnerable silhouette against the howling white, a phantom of resilience, a ghost immune to the cold's touch. This mastery of garment construction is not just about keeping warm, it's about becoming one with the brutal environment, about bending its fury to their will, a whispered pact with nature, a silent agreement to survive. It's a skill, a knowledge that feels as old as the mountains themselves, passed down like a sacred flame from one trembling, knowing hand to the next, never to be extinguished.
As you don the full, painstakingly crafted ensemble, a profound warmth envelops you, a sense of security you've never quite known before, a comfort deeper than any roaring fire, a palpable shield against the encroaching darkness of the endless winter. The weight of the furs, the snug fit of the wool, all contribute to a feeling of being truly protected, a walking fortress against the elements, an unbreakable bastion against the relentless assault of the frigid air, a human monument to defiance. You understand, with a clarity that cuts through the cold air like a sharpened blade, that these ancient skills, woven from generations of perseverance and an indomitable will, are more than just techniques. They are the most enduring armor, the very essence of how Vikings survived the cold, not merely for a single season, but across centuries, a testament to humanity's unyielding spirit against nature's mightiest challenges. This knowledge, passed down through whispers and practical lessons, is etched into your very being, a part of your own ancestry, a deep, comforting truth. Lena smiles, her eyes crinkling at the corners,
a gentle glow in the dim light of the longhouse, reflecting the fire's dance. "You see, my friend," she whispers, her voice soft as the falling snow, yet firm with ancient wisdom. "This armor doesn't just protect the body, the flesh, the bone. It shields the spirit, too. It whispers of all those who came before us, who fought the cold with needle and thread, with tireless hands and unwavering hearts, and survived. It's a promise of warmth woven into every fiber, a secret that only those who trust in the ancient ways can truly feel, deeper than any chill, a bond that transcends time and space. And as you settle into the profound embrace of this woolen armor, wrapped in its protective layers, you realize the true strength lies not just in its weave, but in the countless unseen hands that crafted it, in the shared resilience of a people, making it a living legacy, a whispered lullaby against the endless winter night, a constant, comforting presence that leads you gently into the depths of a peaceful sleep. Within the longhouse, as the cold outside relentlessly tries to tighten its icy grip around you, the rich, steaming aroma rising from the massive stew pot in the center of the hall is the only warmth that can truly thaw your very soul. This isn't merely a meal, my friend. Every single spoonful of this thick, savory concoction is a bullet of pure energy, a vital guarantee that your body will possess the raw strength needed to fight back against the cold, which gnaws like a relentless, savage enemy. More profoundly, it's the indispensable preparation for the arduous, challenge-laden sea voyages that await with the inimitable return of spring. The bubbling cauldron is a beating heart of sustenance, its rhythmic gurgle a constant lullaby against the howling winds. You can feel the hunger in your own belly, a hollow ache, and the promise of warmth from that pot is like a siren song, drawing you closer to its comforting embrace, a testament to the sheer resilience required just to exist in this unforgiving northern realm. The true genius behind this daily miracle of survival rests with Elda, the woman whose eyes are as still and deep as a winter lake, reflecting an ancient, profound wisdom, and whose hands, though nimble, bear the indelible marks of tireless, methodical work. You'll witness her almost reverential approach as she meticulously inspects and accounts for every item in the Longhouse's communal larder. Each meticulously prepared dried fish, every carefully salted slab of meat is handled with a palpable sense of respect, placed with an almost sacred reverence in its exact, appointed place, treated truly as precious jewels in a vital treasure chest of collective survival. Her movements are economical, precise, a dancer's grace born of necessity. She'll explain, her voice a low, steady hum, barely audible above the crackling fire, that calculating daily rations isn't just a mundane chore, it's a strategic battle, a delicate, ever-shifting balance. It must be enough to sustain warmth, to fuel the internal furnace, and to maintain health in the face of constant draining cold, yet there is no room, not a single grain, for waste. To squander even a single morsel in this land is to court death itself, an act of reckless abandon that could spell doom for the entire community, a truth understood in the very marrow of their bones. You'll observe her ingenious use of the subterranean space beneath the longhouse floor. This isn't just a cellar, it's a meticulously crafted natural cold storage, a subterranean vault where temperatures remain remarkably stable, perfectly preserving provisions, preventing them from either completely freezing solid into unusable blocks or spoiling through thaw and refreeze cycles. It smells of damp earth and cured provisions, a heavy, reassuring scent. Accessed through a trap door near the central hearth, this cool, dark space is a testament to Viking ingenuity, a deep, silent well of sustenance. Only these ancient walls truly know how many times Elda's quiet wisdom, her uncanny foresight in managing these vital stores, has rescued the entire village from the gnawing pangs of starvation, an insidious unseen force that could easily decimate the weak. The very air in that storage space feels pregnant with the promise of tomorrow, each barrel and sack a whispered assurance against the relentless hunger that stalks the land outside. The core of their winter diet revolves around those thick, hearty stews, perpetually bubbling and murmuring over the central fire, their surface shimmering with rich fat. You'll see that literally everything edible that remains is carefully tossed into these large communal pots. Tough, lean reindeer meat, chewy strips of dried fish, precious preserved root vegetables, if any have miraculously lasted, and in the truly leanest times, even dried reindeer moss or pulverized tree bark are added, painstakingly ground into a fine powder to create extra volume, a desperate ingenuity born of extreme necessity. The robust, intensely savory aroma, heavy with the rich fattiness of rendered animal drippings, is a scent you will quickly learn not just to tolerate, but to deeply cherish, for it is nothing less than the pure, concentrated fuel igniting your very body. This isn't about culinary delight, it's about dense caloric intake, a direct injection of warmth and energy designed to keep the body's internal furnace roaring in the face of the external, biting air. Each spoonful is a taste of survival, a visceral understanding of what it takes to endure. Elda, with the quiet authority of her knowledge, will patiently instruct you on the meticulous process of rendering seal blubber into a highly nutritious energy butter. This thick, potent paste, yellowish and slightly unctuous, can be eaten directly, a powerful shot of fat, or, more often, stirred vigorously into the hot stews for an extra, much-needed boost of warmth and sustenance. Every single spoonful of this fat, she'll assure you, her voice a low, comforting murmur, is like a warm embrace for your body, a direct gift of strength from the sea itself. It's a taste that becomes intrinsically linked to endurance and perseverance, a flavor of life itself in a world where every calorie counts. This ancient art of fat rendering, passed down through the generations, is a secret weapon against the cold's insidious drain on vital energy.
Food preservation, you'll discover, isn't just a chore. It's an art of infinite patience and ingenious adaptation, a constant battle against decay. You'll observe the methodical process of air-drying fish and thin strips of meat using the crisp, cold currents that naturally flow through the longhouse, guided by carefully placed openings. You'll also learn the ancient art of salting and meticulously smoking them right inside the communal hall. The ever-present smoke from the central hearth, though sometimes causing a persistent itch in your eyes and a slight cough, plays an absolutely crucial role in preserving the food, infusing it with a unique, smoky flavor that also inhibits bacterial growth. This effectively transforms the entire longhouse into a living, natural processing plant, a giant, slow-cooking smoker where sustenance for the months ahead is carefully prepared. Thrain, restless and inquisitive as any boy his age, will be entrusted with the immensely important task of regularly checking the dried fish and meat strips hanging from the longhouse's sturdy rafters. His small fingers, though often clumsy, will learn to discern the precise texture of properly dried fish, ensuring they aren't too soft, indicating spoilage, or too brittle, indicating excessive drying. Elda, ever patient, will hover nearby, gently correcting his grip, explaining the subtle nuances. If the mold takes hold, the food is lost, she'll caution, her voice a soft reprimand. And a lost fish is a lost day of life. This seemingly simple chore is a profound practical lesson in responsibility, in the direct link between meticulous care and the collective survival of the community. You'll witness his small triumphs, the satisfaction on his face as he finds a perfect, well-preserved strip, a tiny victory in the grand battle against winter. This daily ritual instills in him, and in you, a deep understanding that even the smallest oversight can have dire, widespread consequences for everyone. The sight and sound of large wooden barrels, actively bubbling and murmuring, filled with various fermented drinks brewed from barley or honey, will become a familiar and comforting presence. These aren't just for warmth or celebration. They are a vital source of liquid calories, carbohydrates, and essential nutrients, crucial for hydration and energy in a diet often dominated by dry, cured foods. You'll hear the gentle effervescence, the soft gurgle of the fermentation process, a soothing sound like the quiet whispers of hope bubbling up from within the dark depths of winter. These beverages, often strong and warming, provide not only physical sustenance, but a vital lift to morale, acting as a social lubricant in the long, dark evenings. For the warriors, for the very future of the village and its capacity for expansion, there's a distinct, pragmatic understanding of their heightened caloric need. Jarl Bjorn Ironside and the other seasoned warriors, those formidable figures hardened by countless raids and battles, consistently receive slightly larger, more energy-rich portions at mealtimes. This isn't merely an act of favoritism. It's a calculated, vital investment in the future of the tribe. You'll come to understand that for them to maintain the physical prowess required to fight, to protect the village from unexpected threats, and to launch their longships on daring expeditions when spring returns, they must be in peak physical condition. Their bodies are their most potent weapons, and they must be kept sharp, well-oiled, and constantly fueled. You might observe Jarl Bjorn himself, his gaze piercing, surveying his warriors as they eat, not for gluttony, but for signs of strength, a quiet assessment of their readiness. People say that it was precisely this high-energy, fat-rich diet, meticulously managed and consistently consumed, that granted the Vikings their legendary stamina and seemingly boundless endurance in the brutal, prolonged skirmishes of battle and during their epic, months-long sea voyages across treacherous oceans. This sustained energy transformed them into tireless fighting machines, capable of unimaginable feats of physical and mental resilience. Their diet wasn't just about surviving, it was about preparing to conquer. As you finish your bowl of steaming thick stew, a profound, comforting warmth spreads from your stomach, permeating every fiber of your being, methodically chasing away the insidious cold that relentlessly tries to penetrate your defenses. You realize that each mouthful is more than just mere sustenance. It's a sacred, whispered promise of life, a tangible connection to an ancient skill of nutrition that has allowed Vikings survive the cold, preparing them not just to endure the harsh grip of winter, but to emerge stronger, more resilient, and utterly ready for any battle, whether against the brutal forces of nature or the armed might of an enemy across the seas. This deep understanding of food as fuel, as the very essence of survival, is now etched into your own being, a lesson more profound than any saga.
In this unforgiving northern land, a profound truth will soon engrave itself upon your very soul. In the bone-chilling grip of winter, no one, not even the fiercest warrior, can survive alone. The community, you see, is not just a mere collection of individuals, it is a living, breathing organism, with each person an indispensable, vital part of its beating heart. The spirit of unity in Raven village stands strong and unyielding as those ancient, gnarled oak trees that have defiantly weathered hundreds of winters, their roots reaching deep, refusing to be swayed by any storm. You will witness firsthand how we meticulously share every last precious sliver of dried meat, every hard-won branch of firewood, treating them like sacred offerings to the gods of survival, knowing that a shared portion is a doubled strength. Then, one fateful night, as the blizzard outside howled with the fury of 1,000 enraged wolves, its icy breath rattling the very foundations of the world, disaster struck with the suddenness of a lightning bolt. A section of the secondary longhouse, where several families sought meager refuge from the unrelenting cold, succumbed to the immense,
crushing weight of a fresh snow avalanche. The sound that ripped through the night was not merely a collapse, it was a guttural roar of tormented timber, a screech of splintering wood, mingling with the desperate cries of the families trapped within, sending a terrifying deep chill that cut through every layer of your clothing, a chilling echo of death's own whisper. Fear, cold and sharp as a newly honed dagger, gripped the heart of the village. Jarl Bjorn Ironside, his face a mask of granite resolve, but his eyes burning with an intense, unyielding determination, wasted not a single precious moment. He moved with the speed of a seasoned hawk, his powerful voice cutting through the chaos like a beacon through a storm. He, along with Asta, a woman whose quiet strength was as formidable as any warrior's, and whose mind worked with the precision of a master weaver, immediately rallied everyone. From the strongest, most battle-hardened warriors, to the nimble, swift women, and even the older children like Thrain, their eyes wide with a mixture of fear and readiness. Every soul in Raven village poured out into the maelstrom, facing the blizzard head-on. The wind was a physical assailant, biting at exposed skin, tearing at clothing. Yet they moved with a singular purpose, their bodies a testament to a collective will. You joined the frantic effort, your hands already numb, working alongside them as a well-oiled machine, a symphony of communal effort. You hauled immense, snow-laden timber, each beam a crushing weight that tested your very limits. You passed heavy, water-soaked old hides, their surfaces stiff with ice, from hand to hand, a chain of human resilience. These materials, salvaged from the wreckage, were used to frantically patch the gaping wound in the longhouse roof, a desperate effort to seal out the relentless blizzard. You could feel the biting cold on your skin, sharp as 1,000 needles, and the exhaustion that quickly set into your muscles, turning them to lead. Yet the warmth emanating from the sheer force of their unity, the shared determination in every strained breath, was like an invisible fire burning in the pit of your stomach, warming your very soul. This wasn't merely repairing a roof, it was a desperate, collective act of saving lives, a defiant roar against the encroaching darkness. Every swing of the shovel, every strain of muscle, was a shared burden, a testament to the fact that in this land, survival was a team effort. The longhouse, temporarily wounded, began to slowly heal, stitch by painstaking stitch. Once the roof was temporarily patched, a marvel of improvisation under such duress, the families displaced by the collapse faced a new chilling reality. They were suddenly without a home in the heart of winter. But in Raven, there was no question of leaving anyone to the mercies of the elements. The affected families were immediately distributed among the other longhouses, each already bustling with its own inhabitants, spaces that were already close-knit and compact. You witnessed acts of profound generosity. Families, themselves struggling for space, willingly gave up their warmest sleeping spots nearest the central hearth, offering precious fur blankets, and even the last of their dried provisions to those who had lost everything. It was a tangible act of solidarity, a powerful demonstration of their collective ethos, proving that their community was a living, breathing promise of protection. These were small, seemingly humble gestures, yet they spoke volumes, acting as eloquent testimony to the deep interdependence that bound them together. Each shared corner, each offered blanket, was a silent vow that no one would face winter's fury alone.
This sudden increase in mouths to feed placed an even heavier burden on the already dwindling food supplies. Olaf, a seasoned hunter with a face weathered like ancient stone and eyes that gleamed with the stark light of a hunter's instinct, along with his small, intrepid hunting parties, was forced to venture further, risking more in the treacherous, snow-laden forests. Each foray into the white wilderness was a life-or-death odyssey, a desperate gamble against the elements. They traversed frozen rivers, silent as spectral deer, their movements masked by the incessant sifting snows, seeking out elusive game. The meager returns were often a crushing blow, yet no one, not Olaf nor his hardy companions, ever refused the call.
Their dedication was a silent anthem of sacrifice, each strained breath in the frigid air a testament to their unwavering commitment to the community's survival. They were the sharpened teeth of the village, hunting in a world that sought to starve them. To dispel the heavy gloom cast by the endless drawn-out winter nights, and especially after the chilling incident of the collapsed roof, the community made a collective decision. They would orchestrate a small, intimate, midwinter feast. It was a desperate, defiant act of hope, a flame struck against the encroaching darkness, a vital source of warmth not just for their bodies, but for their very spirits. Within the grand longhouse, the central hearth, normally tended with meticulous care, was now coaxed to burn brighter than ever before, its flames leaping and dancing with a joyful ferocity, casting a radiant, flickering light that painted the faces of everyone present in shifting hues of gold and crimson. You could hear the resounding peals of laughter, the boisterous songs echoing through the ancient timbers, their joyous sound overriding the mournful keening of the wind outside, a powerful declaration of their will to survive. Elda, despite the precariousness of their dwindling provisions, displayed her culinary genius. With every scrap of meat, every preserved herb, she skillfully conjured a feast that felt like the most lavish indulgence, a testament to her unwavering resourcefulness. The rich, smoky aroma of the stew, thick with rendered animal fat, mingled with the sweet scent of simmering berries, if any were left from summer's stores, created an intoxicating fragrance that filled the longhouse. Each bite of this deeply flavorful, hearty meal was a precious gift from the gods, a rare moment of abundance amidst the stark reality of scarcity. It was a taste of hope, a reminder that joy could still exist even in the bleakest of times. Everyone drank warmed mead or ale, their wooden tankards clanking together in communal toasts. The sweet fermented warmth spread through your body, a soothing balm against the biting cold, loosening tongues and spirits. As the hours dwindled, the stories began to flow, old as the mountains themselves. Eric, the village's oldest living elder, whose voice was as deep and resonant as the rhythmic crash of waves against the shore, began to recount an ancient saga of resilience. He spoke of ancestors who faced famines worse than this one, of warriors who sailed through storms that would shatter lesser ships, of communities that held together with nothing but their shared spirit. The darkest nights, he declared, his eyes burning with an inner fire, are precisely when we must ignite the brightest flame within our hearts. His words were a powerful incantation, a thread of wisdom woven through generations, reminding everyone that their current struggle was but another chapter in a long, unbroken narrative of Viking endurance. You could feel the weight of history in his voice, the power of generations of survival. You felt the very spirit of those who came before them seep into every tale, every shared laugh, every clink of a tankard. The whispered rumors of ancestral spirits returning during these winter feasts felt less like superstition and more like undeniable truth, for their presence was vividly alive in every breath, every shared story, every memory passed down. The longhouse pulsed with a collective energy, a vibrant tapestry of shared history and future hopes. As the echoes of the songs gradually faded, replaced by the softer murmur of conversation, and the vibrant flames of the hearth slowly dwindled into glowing embers, you looked around. You saw faces etched with the fatigue of relentless labor and the lingering shadows of past fear. Yet in every eye, you glimmered a renewed, unyielding spark of hope. You understood, with a profound clarity, that in this unceasing war with the insidious cold, their unity, the collective strength of a people bound by shared hardship, and these precious, small moments of communal celebration were undeniably the most potent strategy of the Vikings.
It was the very essence of their being, the secret to how they not only survived the cold, but also managed to steadfastly cling to their unwavering belief in the promise of a new spring, a new dawn, and the endless possibilities that lay beyond the frozen horizon.
My friend, the Longhouse, in its magnificent warmth, offers refuge, a sanctuary against the winter's bite, a cocoon spun from logs and earth against the harsh world. But make no mistake, the longship is the true soul of the Viking, the mighty wings of ambition and the unquenchable thirst for discovery, for what lies beyond the horizon. It is more than mere wood and rope. It is a living entity, a pulsating heart of a seafaring people, echoing with the sagas of exploration and conquest yet to be written. Even as the ferocious winter outside snarls like a trapped beast, its icy breath turning the very air to brittle glass, creating a landscape of frozen whispers, you'll witness the men of Raven village, their faces grimly set with purpose, their bodies radiating a quiet determination, toiling ceaselessly. They are preparing for the grand awakening of spring, the season of great sea voyages when the ice shackles shatter and the boundless, shimmering ocean, a vast, untamed beast, calls them forth once more, whispering promises of distant lands and untold glory, a siren's call only they can answer. This isn't just work, it's a sacred communion with destiny, a defiance of nature's icy grip, a testament to human will against overwhelming odds, a bold declaration etched in timber and iron, a silent thunder waiting to erupt. Deep within a specially constructed workshop, a haven of industry, tucked away from the blizzard's wrath, its thick walls muffling the angry screams of the wind, a continuous, low-burning fire casts dancing shadows, warming the air with its gentle embrace. It's a place imbued with the scent of pine and ambition, a fragrant blend of purpose and possibility. You step inside, leaving the piercing chill behind, and are immediately struck by an impressive tableau of dedication. Frere, the master shipwright, his eyes focused with the intensity of a laser beam cutting through thick ice, works alongside a cadre of skilled men, their hands gnarled and powerful from countless hours of toil, move with almost surgical precision, meticulously crafting new longships from the raw, unyielding wood. The rhythmic thunk-thunk of mallets hitting chisels, a steady heartbeat of creation, blends with the soft, shaving sound of adzes, a whispered song of craftsmanship, shaping the stubborn timber. The air is thick with the sweet, fragrant dust of newly worked wood, a golden haze of possibility, an aroma that speaks of transformation and the promise of open seas. Frere, with a quiet dignity, will guide you through the intricate process, revealing secrets passed down through generations, knowledge etched into his very bones. He'll begin with the arduous task of selecting the perfect trees, not just any tree, but specific ancient oaks, towering pines, or resilient ash from the deep, snow-laden forests. A ship, he'd murmur, his voice rough yet gentle, is only as strong as its heartwood. We don't just cut down trees, my friend, we listen to them, feel their spirit, choose the ones that have known the most storms, for they will carry our storms. You'd learn how they would journey deep into the frozen wilderness, often for days, searching for the ideal timber. Trees with straight, knot-free grains, trees that seem to whisper their readiness for a greater purpose. The felling itself is a precise, almost reverent act, performed with axes sharp as a winter's promise, each swing imbued with respect for the life given. The giants of the forest fall with a resounding sigh, echoing through the silent snow-clad woods, sending shivers through the frozen air, before they are dragged back to the village, their immense weight groaning over the snow,
a silent procession of destiny. Once at the workshop, the real magic begins. You'll witness the remarkable skill of splitting logs, not sawing them. Frere explains that sawing cuts across the grain, weakening the wood. "We split it," he'd say, tapping a freshly cleaved plank, its fibers running perfectly straight, following the natural lines of the tree's soul. It's stronger that way, like bone. The air fills with the sharp, clean scent of freshly split timber, a pungent perfume of potential. Then comes the astonishing process of shaping the planks, often with fire and water. You'll see men carefully heating the thick oak planks over low fires, steam rising in ghostly tendrils. Then, slowly, painstakingly, bending them into the elegant, curving forms that define the longship's hull. It's a delicate dance between brute force and nuanced understanding, a slow-motion ballet of engineering. Too much heat, he'd warn, his eyes narrowed, and it becomes brittle, snapping like a dry twig. Too little, and it refuses to yield, stubborn as an old troll. This patient, methodical bending, guided by the collective strength and wisdom of generations, allows them to create the iconic clinker-built hull, where each plank overlaps the one below it, like the scales of a mighty dragon, providing incredible strength and flexibility, allowing the ship to breathe with the waves.
The true genius lies in the connection. Frere and his men meticulously fit each plank, riveting them together with iron nails, their heads hammered flat against the wood, creating a series of powerful, unyielding bonds. Every rivet, Frere would state, his voice low and firm, is a promise to the sea, a commitment to hold fast. The gaps between the overlapping planks are then painstakingly caulked with tarred animal hair or moss, driven deep into the seams, sealing the whole against the relentless intrusion of the sea, ensuring not a single drop of icy water breaches its integrity. This vital task is often performed by the younger apprentices, their fingers raw and blackened by the tar, learning the hard lessons of precision and thoroughness. The rhythmic tap-tap-tap of their small mallets becomes another layer in the workshop's symphony, a drumbeat of future voyages. You can feel the sheer dedication in the air, a palpable weight of responsibility, as each man understands that their very lives and the lives of those they carry will one day depend on the integrity of these silent wooden bonds. As the hull takes shape, it transforms from a mere collection of planks into the ribcage of a mythical beast, then slowly, gracefully, into the skeleton of a giant sea monster, poised to devour the waves. You'll observe the placement of the keel, the ship's backbone, meticulously carved and positioned to provide stability. Then come the ribs, curved timbers that give the ship its graceful form, creating a strong framework, its unseen arteries and veins supporting its very life. The mast, often a single towering pine, is then stepped, its base secured deep within the keel, rising majestically towards the smoke vent in the roof, a symbol of aspiration, a silent finger pointing to the distant stars. The single square sail, woven from sturdy wool or linen, often dyed in vibrant colors or adorned with intricate patterns, is then hoisted, ready to catch the wind's invisible embrace, a vast, billowing heart that will propel them across the vast expanse of the northern seas. You can almost hear the wind filling it, tugging at the ropes, eager for its first taste of freedom. The longship is not merely a vessel. It is a meticulously designed tool for both exploration and warfare. Its shallow draft allows it to navigate both the deep ocean and shallow rivers, giving the Vikings unparalleled access to inland territories, a liquid key, unlocking continents.
Its symmetrical design, with identical bows and sterns, means it can change direction quickly, without needing to turn around. A swift, agile predator on the water, capable of surprising any foe. The oars, long and strong, provide propulsion when the wind dies, or when stealth is required. The muscles of the beast, each stroke a testament to human power. And of course, the iconic dragon head at the prow, often intricately carved and sometimes even gilded, is more than just decoration. It wards off evil spirits, Frere would explain, a faint smile playing on his lips, and strikes fear into the hearts of our enemies. Though if you ask me, the fear comes more from the 100 warriors behind it, not the wood. A rare dry chuckle escapes his lips, a sound like dry leaves rustling on frozen ground. A moment of levity in the midst of intense focus. This subtle wit, you realize, is another essential layer of their survival. The ability to find humor, however dark, even in the face of daunting challenges. As the longship nears completion, the longhouse echoes with the sound of grinding stones as weapons are sharpened, their blades glinting ominously in the firelight. Shields are painted, their designs often bearing family crests or symbols of power, vibrant splashes of defiance against the drab winter. The men hone their tools of war, making ready for the inevitable call of the open sea and the battles it promises. For people say that these very ships will carry them either to glorious victory, etched into sagas for eternity, or to the hallowed halls of Valhalla, where fallen heroes feast with Odin himself, forever bathed in glory. Their preparations are meticulous, born of the understanding that a dull blade or a rusty axe could mean the difference between life and a swift, brutal death on foreign shores, a final, desperate gamble where only perfection suffices. Every clang of hammer on steel, every rasp of sharpening stone, is a whispered prayer for success, a grim promise of blood and glory yet to come, a symphony of impending conquest. As you finally step out of the warm, resonant workshop, leaving behind the comforting scent of wood and honest labor, the rhythmic thud of hammers striking wood continues to reverberate in your ears, a powerful echo of creation, a persistent heartbeat of ambition. The biting cold outside feels less oppressive now, for your mind is filled with the vivid images of sleek hulls and carved prows, already imagining them dancing on the waves. You know, with a certainty that thrums deep in your soul, that even in the longest, coldest nights, when the shadow of death seems to loom closest, the indomitable spirit of the Viking people can never be truly broken. Their ancient, profound shipbuilding skills did not merely help them survive the cold, weathering the physical onslaught of winter and its icy fangs. More profoundly, these skills were the very key that unlocked an entire new world, transforming them from isolated villagers into the greatest explorers and fearsome warriors of their age, leaving behind an unparalleled maritime legacy that has transcended the very oceans of time, shaping the course of history far beyond the frozen fjords of their homeland. The distant whispers of the wind now seem to carry not just cold, but the faint, exciting scent of salt and adventure, beckoning you to dream of the voyages to come. You drift into a deep, peaceful sleep, rocked by the invisible waves of the future, a future built plank by painstaking plank, a testament to relentless human will.
A Viking warrior is never born under the gentle caress of summer's warmth. He is forged in the cutting, brutal cold of winter, where every single breath drawn into the lungs is a challenge, a testament to his very will to endure. The frigid air does not weaken them. Instead, it transforms their very essence, sharpening them into lethal, keen-edged axes, perpetually ready for any confrontation, any trial that dares to stand in their path. You will bear witness to their unyielding dedication, observing firsthand how they relentlessly maintain and hone their fighting prowess, meticulously sculpting their bodies and minds. They turn the unforgiving harshness of nature into their most brutal yet most effective teacher, a relentless tutor who demands nothing less than absolute perfection, a master carved from ice and wind, whose lessons are etched in sweat and frost. In the endless, dragging days of winter, when the world outside is cloaked in a thick, suffocating blanket of snow, rendering every path indistinguishable, the relentless maintenance of physical prowess and honed combat skills is not merely important, it is paramount, a matter of grim survival. Jarl Bjorn Ironside, his face a craggy landscape of weathered determination, his eyes like chips of flint, understands this truth more profoundly than anyone else. He knows, with the certainty of a seasoned hunter tracking his prey, that a warrior who ceases to train will inevitably rust, becoming as useless as a forgotten sword left to corrode beneath a heap of autumn leaves. "The softness of pace," Jarl Bjorn would often bellow, his voice like a grinding glacier, echoing across the snow-covered training grounds, "is a slow poison for the warrior's spirit. The cold, however, is a whetstone for the soul, sharpening every edge, revealing every weakness." He believes, with an almost religious fervor, that the very act of pushing one's body to its absolute limits in the biting cold not only hardens the muscle, but also, and more importantly, tempers the spirit, forging an unbreakable iron will, ready to face any adversity without flinching, a shield against despair, a fortress built from raw courage and defiant breath. You'll feel the chill bite at your exposed skin as you join them. Even wrapped in your woolen armor, the air immediately sucks the warmth from your lungs, each inhale a sharp, cold knife, each exhale a plume of defiant steam. The training begins before dawn, under the faint, ethereal glow of the stars, their light pinpricks in the vast, inky canvas of the winter sky. The ground beneath your feet is hard as stone, covered in a thin, crusty layer of ice, making every step a calculated effort. The warriors start with grueling runs across the snow-laden plains, their boots crunching rhythmically, a relentless marching drum beat against the vast silence. They traverse frozen rivers, their breath pluming around them like small, ephemeral ghosts, and climb snow-drifted hills, their muscles screaming in protest, a silent symphony of agony and effort. These aren't casual jogs. They are endurance tests, designed to push the body to its breaking point and then beyond, teaching it to find reserves of strength it never knew it possessed. You quickly discover that your lungs burn, your legs ache, and your fingers threaten to lose all sensation. But the collective drive, the silent camaraderie of shared suffering, propels you forward, a tide of unwavering human spirit. There is a peculiar, almost masochistic pride in pushing past the pain, knowing that with every aching step you become more resilient, more attuned to the harsh rhythm of this land. The training schedule is a relentless beast, a clockwork of suffering, meticulously designed to weed out the weak and temper the strong. Each morning begins with these brutal conditioning runs, often with weighted packs or even dragging heavy logs behind them, leaving long, dark trails across the pristine white snow, scars on winter's face. You'll see them practicing their unique form of snow swimming, plunging into partially frozen lakes or rivers, their bodies convulsing instinctively against the shock, before scrambling back out, gasping for air, their skin a violent red. This terrifying exercise, Jarl Bjorn explains with a grim satisfaction, awakens the blood, my friend. It teaches you to master the fear that tries to choke your very soul when faced with the unknown. A true warrior must embrace the cold, not merely endure it. The initial shock is overwhelming, 1,000 icy needles piercing your skin.
But a strange, exhilarating warmth soon follows, a primal surge of adrenaline that makes you feel intensely alive, a brief, furious dance with death. Sometimes a younger recruit, shivering violently, would manage a wry grin, muttering, "I'm sure Odin himself couldn't stand this much awakening before breakfast." A shared chuckle, fragile as ice, rippling through the grim faces.
Beyond physical exertion, the training delves into the brutal poetry of combat. The warriors practice with their axes and swords, their movements precise and economical, each swing a deadly whisper, a promise of swift, decisive action. The air is filled with the whish of axes cutting through the frigid air, the clang of metal on metal as they spar with blunted weapons, a harsh music of battle echoing across the silent landscape. They don't merely hack, they dance, a deadly ballet of precision and power, their bodies fluid even under layers of thick clothing, each step carefully placed to maintain balance on the treacherous ice. You'll witness them practicing intricate shield wall formations, their heavy wooden shields interlocking like an impenetrable wall of defiance, a collective breathing organism moving as one, their bodies a single unified force against any imagined enemy. Tharger, a grizzled veteran with a missing eye and a network of scars that crisscrossed his face like a complex map of ancient battles, often drills the younger warriors. "A shield is not just wood, boy," he'd bark, his voice rough as grinding ice. "It's your brother, your lover, your very life. Treat it with respect, and it will save your hide more times than you can count. Neglect it, and it'll abandon you faster than a starving wolf abandons a bone." His words, though harsh, carry the weight of countless battles, a gruff symphony of hard-won wisdom. The cold itself is not merely a backdrop, but an active participant in their training. They learn to hunt in blizzards, their senses heightened by the need for absolute stealth and focus, their movements silent as falling snow. They track game through thigh-deep drifts, reading the subtle whispers of the wind, the almost invisible signs left by their prey, becoming ghosts in the white wilderness. Jarl Bjorn himself often leads these hunting expeditions, his towering figure a beacon of strength, teaching them how to read the landscape, how to predict the unpredictable shifts of the wind, how to use the environment to their advantage. The forest, he'd instruct, his voice a low rumble, cutting through the murmurs of the Longhouse, is full of eyes, my young wolf. Learn to see without being seen, to hear the whispering secrets of the wind, to smell the fear of your prey. They practice setting traps in freezing temperatures, their fingers numb but precise, a testament to absolute control. They learn to build shelters quickly from snow and branches, finding warmth where none seems to exist, a primitive magic of survival. And most chillingly, you'll observe them practicing prolonged exposure to the cold, sitting motionless in snowdrifts, forcing their bodies to adapt, to conserve heat, to push the boundaries of human endurance. It is a terrifying yet vital discipline that transforms their very core, making them resilient to discomfort, almost impervious to the icy clutches of fear itself. This brutal training creates warriors whose senses are so finely tuned they can almost taste the approaching storm, hear the faintest shift in the wind, and feel the presence of a distant enemy before they are even seen. It is a terrifying yet exhilarating process, turning men into extensions of the wilderness itself. Beyond the physical, the mental fortitude forged in these harsh conditions is truly remarkable. The warriors engage in long hours of strategic planning and storytelling, sharing their sagas of past battles and future conquests within the warm glow of the Longhouse. They recount victories, analyze defeats, and strategize for upcoming raids, their minds as sharp as their blades, honed by the intellectual grind. This mental training is just as crucial as the physical, teaching them to think under pressure, to adapt to changing circumstances, to anticipate the moves of their enemies. Jarl Bjorn often reiterates this point, his voice a low, gravelly rumble cutting through the murmurs of the Longhouse. "The cold is an unforgiving teacher, my son, but it will instruct you in the art of effective combat more profoundly than any mortal master ever could. It strips away the frivolous, leaving only the essential. It teaches you patience, cunning, and the value of every breath." People say that these very warriors carry a piece of the winter spirit within them, a silent, icy fire that makes them unstoppable, resilient as the ancient mountains themselves. This knowledge, passed down through generations, ensures that the wilderness itself becomes an ally, a formidable extension of their own might, a silent partner in their conquests. As you continue to observe their daily rituals, you notice the subtleties of their training. They don't merely train in isolation, they integrate their combat skills into daily life. Chopping firewood becomes an exercise in axe proficiency, each swing purposeful, each cut precise. Hauling water from the frozen well strengthens their core and grip, turning mundane tasks into hidden drills. Even their games, like wrestling or feats of strength, are disguised forms of combat practice, competitive yet always serving the larger purpose of collective readiness. The older warriors, their faces etched with the wisdom of countless campaigns, often share their personal anecdotes, tales of narrow escapes and cunning victories, each story a miniature lesson in strategy and resilience. "Remember, boy," one old warrior with a scarred eyebrow would lean in to tell a wide-eyed recruit, "the biggest axe doesn't always win. Sometimes it's the fastest mind, or the one who knows how to use the wind to his advantage, or the one who didn't complain about the frostbite during morning drills." His words were punctuated by a wink, a rare flash of humor that lightened the heavy atmosphere of constant vigilance. You begin to understand that their training isn't just a set schedule, it's a way of life, a constant state of preparedness, seamlessly woven into the fabric of their existence, as natural as breathing. The unwavering resolve of these warriors, etched onto their very souls, is palpable. You see it in their eyes, a deep, quiet intensity that speaks of battles fought and trials endured. They understand that their strength is not merely for personal glory, but for the protection of their families, their community, their way of life. This communal aspect, this shared burden of defense, fuels their determination, transforming individual hardship into collective might, a powerful river of courage flowing through the Longhouse. The sounds of their strenuous training, the grunt of effort, the sharp click of weapons blend into the background hum of the Longhouse, a constant, reassuring symphony of preparedness, a lullaby of vigilance. And as the day wanes and the warriors finally retreat to the warmth of the Longhouse, their bodies weary, but their spirits resolute, you can feel the deep, resonant peace that comes from knowing such protectors stand guard, ready for any challenge the merciless world might hurl at them. As the grueling training session finally draws to a close, your body aches with a profound weariness, every muscle screaming in protest, a choir of fatigued fibers, yet your spirit, surprisingly, feels invigorated, remarkably refreshed. The physical exhaustion is quickly overshadowed by a sense of accomplishment, a quiet triumph over your own limitations. You now understand, with an undeniable clarity that cuts through the lingering chill, that winter is not a time for dormant slumber, a period of idle rest. No,
It is a crucible of relentless forging, a time for ceaseless tempering, for pushing beyond perceived limits. This ancient skill of training in the brutal, unrelenting ice and snow did not merely ensure that Vikings survived the cold in a purely physical sense, clinging to life like a stubborn snowflake refusing to melt. More significantly, it was the very catalyst for the development of an unbreakable iron will, an inner fortitude that prepared them, body and soul, to face any trial, any challenge, and any enemy that dared to stand against them in the journey ahead, transforming them into legends whispered across lands and seas, their very existence a defiant roar against the elements. You drift into a deep, well-earned sleep. The phantom aches in your muscles, a comforting reminder of your newfound strength. The echoes of Jarnbjorn's booming voice, a distant, guiding lullaby, a silent promise of tomorrow's challenges and triumphs.
Gazing up the northern sky on a frigid winter night is an unparalleled experience. Millions of stars glitter like scattered diamonds strewn across a vast black velvet curtain, and sometimes the ethereal ribbons of the aurora borealis dance and shimmer like radiant, joyful spirits, painting the heavens with otherworldly light. But for the Vikings, these celestial wonders are far more than mere spectacles of beauty. They are living maps, the silent, immutable keys to navigation across the boundless, unforgiving oceans, even when the world is swallowed whole by treacherous ice floes and thick, disorienting fog. The very air hums with the unspoken promise of distant shores, a silent invitation carried on the frigid winds, beckoning them to venture beyond the familiar horizon, to follow the celestial whispers of their destiny, etched across the cosmic canvas. It is a profound, almost mystical connection, tying their earthly ambitions to the grand, unfathomable design of the cosmos, a golden thread weaving through the tapestry of time. In the long, hushed twilight hours of the endless winter nights, when the entire village gathers closely around the communal Longhouses' central hearth, its crackling flames casting dancing, distorted shadows on the weathered faces of men, women, and children alike, Helga, the revered woman known by all as the Star Reader, becomes the undeniable heart of their world. Her hair, as white and fine as the first fallen snow, frames a face etched with the profound wisdom of countless lived years, a landscape of experience where every wrinkle tells a tale, every line a lesson. She is the keeper of ancient knowledge, the one who can decipher the cosmic tapestry above, reading its intricate patterns as easily as others might read the ripples on a pond. You can feel the ancient wisdom vibrating in the air around her, a subtle hum of primordial knowledge as she explains the celestial mechanics to curious minds, her voice a low, melodic murmur, a soothing balm against the winter's gnawing silence. Helga doesn't just point to the stars, she weaves stories around them, making their movements intelligible, their secrets accessible. She begins with the most crucial, the North Star, Polaris, the silent, unwavering compass of the heavens, its light a steady beacon in the swirling celestial dance. That one, she'd say, her finger, gnarled with age but steady, pointing to the immovable point in the sky, is your constant companion, my child, your anchor in the endless dark. It never moves, never betrays. Find it, and you will always find your way home, or to whatever new home you seek. She explains how they use it to orient their ships, how it guides them through the darkest nights when the sun sleeps beneath the horizon for weeks on end. You learn how other constellations, like Ursa Major,
the Big Dipper, and Ursa Minor, the Little Dipper, revolve around it like loyal hounds circling their master, acting as giant rotating clock hands across the sky, helping to gauge the passage of time and the ship's precise position. For the Vikings, these weren't just distant pinpricks of light. They were familiar faces in the cosmic family, trusted guides in the vast watery wilderness, their constancy a profound comfort in a world of constant change and peril.
But what happens, you might ask, when the sky is obscured by thick clouds? When the iron-gray shroud of winter descends, blotting out the very stars? Or when the endless, disorienting fog rolls in from the sea, a ghostly white blanket that steals all sense of direction? Helga would then speak of the sun, even when unseen. The sun, she'd explain, her eyes twinkling with a touch of ancient magic, never truly hides from those who know how to seek it. She would describe the use of the gnomon, a simple wooden peg or a more elaborate sun compass which casts a shadow. Even on a cloudy day, the faint light allows them to determine the sun's approximate position, a silent oracle in wood. And then she would whisper of the legendary sunstone, or solarstein, a crystal, perhaps Icelandic spar, which, it is said, could polarize light, allowing them to pinpoint the sun's exact location even through thick cloud cover, a translucent eye gazing through the veil. "It is a gift from the gods," she'd murmur, her voice almost a prayer, "for those who are truly lost, who have proven their faith in the sky's unseen wisdom. Though, frankly, it's more reliable than trusting a drunk sailor's guess, wouldn't you say?" A gentle, knowing smile would play on her lips, a rare spark of humor in her profound teachings, a quiet acknowledgement of the human folly that sometimes accompanies even the greatest wisdom. Helga also delves into the subtle language of the sea itself. "The ocean, my friend," she'd begin, her gaze distant as if already sailing, "is a vast book of whispers. You must learn to read its pages." She speaks of the direction of the swells, the patterns of the waves. Long rolling swells often indicate open sea, while choppy, irregular waves might suggest proximity to land or a change in currents. She teaches them to identify different species of birds. Certain seabirds never venture far from land. Their appearance is a flapping signal of hope. The presence of specific types of whales or even schools of fish can also hint at the depth of the water or the presence of coastlines, living compasses in the deep. The very smell of the air changes as one approaches land, the faint, earthy aroma of vegetation mixing with the salt, a subtle invitation from a distant shore. She also explains how they watch the clouds. Their formations and movements often reveal the direction of the wind or impending weather changes, a celestial weather map etched in vapor. This intricate blend of celestial and terrestrial observation, honed over centuries, transforms the vast, seemingly empty ocean into a network of familiar signs, a complex riddle whispered by the elements.
The learning process is not merely theoretical, it's deeply practical. In the Longhouse, under Helga's watchful eye, young apprentices use small carved wooden models of longships, sailing them across makeshift maps drawn in the packed earth floor, learning to apply the celestial guidance to their miniature voyages. They are taught to identify the different stars and constellations by name, each star a character in a grand saga, each constellation a hero or a monster. They practice calculating distances and plotting courses, their minds grappling with abstract concepts in a world where survival often depends on concrete actions. Helga encourages questioning, even playful challenges, knowing that true understanding comes from engagement.
Sometimes a particularly eager young boy would declare, "I shall sail straight to Asgard, Helga, guided by the very Bifrost itself." Helga would simply smile, her eyes twinkling. "And how, dear boy, do you plan to bring it back?" Last I checked, Odin was rather fond of his rainbow bridge. Her light-hearted retort, delivered with a gentle pat on the head, would deflate the grandiosity but ignite the spirit of learning, making even complex navigational concepts feel like an adventurous game. Helga's wisdom extends beyond just stars and waves. She speaks of the unseen currents of the world, the great ocean streams that can either aid a voyage or drag a ship far off course, invisible rivers in the vast sea. She teaches them to observe the behavior of the indigenous wildlife of the various lands they visited, the habits of seals, the flight patterns of migratory birds, even the types of moss growing on certain rocks, each a tiny clue in nature's grand puzzle, pointing towards fresh water, safe harbors, or the presence of human settlements. She shares stories of past voyages, of navigators who strayed off course and the dire consequences, their tales serving as somber warnings etched in the collective memory. Conversely, she recounts the triumphs of those who, through meticulous observation and unwavering faith in their knowledge, discovered new lands, their names now whispered in awe around the hearth, like luminous stars in their own right.
My friend, in the bone-cutting cold of the north, death isn't solely delivered by the sharp edge of an axe or the crushing fury of a rogue wave. It also lurks, insidious and unseen, within every dry cough, every festering wound, transforming into an invisible enemy, no less ruthless or devastating than any armed foe. Yet the Vikings are not powerless in the face of this silent threat. They possess their own profound medical secrets, an ancient wisdom meticulously passed down from one generation to the next, like a sacred heirloom. These are the primal, enduring skills that enable them to wage a quiet, relentless war against death, often triumphing in the very shadows where conventional knowledge would falter, securing life against the chilling breath of oblivion. Then, one chilling day, a harsh, racking cough, accompanied by a fever that burned like a hidden fire, began its insidious spread throughout the Longhouse. The dry, hacking cough of Thrain, your young nephew, echoed ominously in the deep night, startling you awake, a cold dread seeping into your bones like a ghostly chill. His small body, usually so full of vibrant energy, now lay limp and fragile, a withered leaf in winter's grip. Jarl Bjorn Ironside, his face etched with grim understanding, knew with absolute certainty that in the confined communal space of the Longhouse, a spreading sickness could swiftly become a death sentence for the entire community, a relentless plague that could decimate them more thoroughly than any invading army, if not swiftly and decisively contained. The very air seemed to thicken with unspoken fear, a heavy cloak of anxiety draped over every hearth, every family. It was in these dire moments that the true healers, the silent guardians of life, stepped forward, their quiet strength a beacon in the encroaching gloom. This is where Astrid, the village healer, truly shines. Her hands, though soft, possess the unyielding strength of ancient roots, and her eyes, deep and knowing, seem to reflect the very wisdom of the forest itself. She is not a warrior in the traditional sense, but her battles are no less vital, no less courageous. Astrid moves with a quiet, purposeful grace, her presence alone bringing a measure of calm. You watch as she gently places a hand on Thrain's fevered brow, her touch a cool balm against his burning skin. She immediately isolates him in a secluded corner of the Longhouse, stringing up thick animal hides to create a makeshift sickbay, a sanctuary against contagion, where the warmth of the fire can be concentrated and the sickness prevented from becoming a wildfire in dry timber.
This simple act of quarantine, born of generations of observation, is a testament to their practical wisdom, a preventative measure as effective as any shield wall. Astrid's approach is rooted deeply in the natural world, a profound communion with the healing spirits of the earth. You can almost feel the gentle hum of energy as she begins her meticulous work. Her office is not a grand chamber, but a small, quiet alcove near the main hearth, filled with the earthy scent of dried herbs and simmering concoctions. Here, hung from the rough-hewn beams, are bundles of carefully dried leaves, roots, and flowers, their colors muted, but their potency undiminished. Clay pots bubble gently over a smaller, dedicated fire, releasing fragrant steam that fills the air with the scent of pine, thyme, and the elusive sharp tang of unknown remedies. She moves with an almost reverential respect for each ingredient, knowing its history, its purpose, its unique song in the grand symphony of healing.
You watch as Astrid prepares Thrain's remedies. For his persistent cough, she gathered sprigs of coltsfoot and thyme, their pungent aromas immediately clearing your own senses. She carefully places them into a small, lidded pot with boiling water, instructing Thrain's mother to hold the steaming bowl beneath his nose, encouraging him to inhale the healing vapor, a warm mist that promises relief. "Breathe deeply, little warrior," Astrid would whisper. Her voice is soft as a downy snowflake. "Let the forest lend you its breath." For the burning fever, she mixes powdered willow bark with water, creating a bitter liquid. You can almost taste its earthy harshness as Thrain, with a grimace that only a child can truly master, swallows it down. "A spoonful of this," Astrid would say with a slight, almost imperceptible smile, "and your insides will feel as cool as a winter stream. Don't make that face, little one. It's not troll's blood. Much." Her gentle teasing, a rare, fleeting moment of levity, often drew a faint chuckle from Thrain, a tiny spark of life in his fevered eyes. Beyond coughs and fevers, Astrid's knowledge extends to a multitude of ailments, many a direct consequence of their harsh environment. For painful, aching joints, she applies warm poultices made from crushed nettles and comfrey, their warmth slowly seeping into the muscles, a comforting hug from the earth. For frostbite, a constant, insidious threat, she meticulously rewarms the affected extremities with gentle friction and warm cloths, avoiding sudden heat which could cause further damage, an understanding far ahead of her time. She shows you how to clean and dress wounds, not just the superficial scrapes from daily work, but deeper cuts that could easily fester. She uses boiled water for cleansing, ensuring its purity, then applies a thick layer of honey for its antiseptic properties, a golden, sticky miracle from the bees, sometimes covering it with a carefully applied bandage of spiderwebs to staunch bleeding, a delicate yet surprisingly powerful natural bandage, a testament to the unexpected allies found in nature. Astrid's healing is not solely physical, it extends to the very spirit. When a patient's will to live wavers, or when fear begins to gnaw at their soul like a starved wolf, she performs ancient rituals. She might sit by the bedside, her voice a low, resonant hum, chanting ancient melodies, a celestial melody that seems to channel the very essence of the earth itself, coaxing the spirit back to strength. Sometimes she plays a bone flute, its mournful notes weaving through the longhouse, or simply hums, her voice a soft, steady current, pulling the afflicted back from the brink of despair. These aren't mere superstitions, they are a profound understanding of the human psyche, recognizing that fear and hopelessness can be as deadly as any fever. The body can mend if the spirit wills it, she often reminds, her words a gentle command to the soul. And sometimes the oldest songs are the strongest medicine.
The shared belief in these rituals, the collective hope they embody, forms a powerful current that supports the healing process, a net woven from communal prayers.
You begin to understand that Astrid's wisdom is a living library, meticulously compiled through generations of observation, trial, and error. She learned not only from her own elders, but from the very animals themselves, observing which herbs they sought out when ill, which plants they instinctively avoided. Her knowledge of human anatomy, though unwritten, is precise, gleaned from countless injuries treated and, with solemn respect, from the bodies of the fallen after hunts or skirmishes, though you are spared the gory details, only seeing the practical application of her anatomical understanding when she deftly sets a broken arm, the bone clicking back into place with a sickeningly satisfying sound. For common ailments like toothaches, she might apply a hot compress of special herbs to numb the pain, or, if absolutely necessary, perform a swift, brutal extraction with a pair of crude iron pliers, a painful necessity, but one that brings quick, albeit temporary, relief. The challenges she faces are immense. Resources are scarce, and the unforgiving climate means that some herbs are only available seasonally, requiring her to diligently forage and preserve them during the fleeting months of warmth. There are times when even Astrid's profound knowledge seems to falter, when a life is simply beyond saving, despite all efforts. You witness the quiet sorrow that settles over the Longhouse then, a heavy blanket of shared grief, but never a sense of defeat. Instead, it strengthens their resolve, reinforcing the preciousness of each life saved. You might hear a gruff warrior, having just seen his fever break, grumble good-naturedly to Astrid. "This brew tasted like a troll's armpit, healer, but I suppose it did the trick. Don't tell me your secrets. I prefer to suffer in ignorance." A rare, soft laugh would escape Astrid's lips, a testament to the lighter side of their grim existence, acknowledging the enduring spirit even in the face of suffering and the shared humanity that binds them all. As the persistent coughs begin to subside, as the fevers relinquish their burning grip, and the whispers of sickness gradually fade, a profound sense of communal relief permeates the entire Longhouse, a collective sigh of triumph against an unseen foe. Thrain, though still pale, is laughing again, his tiny hands reaching for a wooden toy, a vibrant reminder of life's resilience. You now understand, with an undeniable clarity, that in this silent, ceaseless war against death, Viking medicine is far more than just a collection of effective herbal remedies or practical techniques. It is a powerful, integrated blend of astute practical wisdom, unwavering perseverance, and an almost unshakable, fierce belief in the healing power of both nature and spirit. It is precisely these ancient, enduring skills that have allowed Vikings survive the cold, not merely as a physical act of survival, but as an unyielding, communal pledge to protect life at any cost, even against the most insidious and invisible of enemies, ensuring their people not only lived to see another spring, but thrived despite the odds. You drift into a deep, peaceful sleep, the faint scent of healing herbs in the air, a comforting lullaby, a testament to the enduring power of life in the heart of winter's embrace. In a society where death constantly stalks like a hungry wolf and resources dwindle to precious few, law is far more than a collection of dry, rigid rules. It is the unyielding anchor, the very bedrock that keeps the community from fragmenting, from utterly dissolving under the crushing, relentless pressure of the bitter cold and the gnawing grip of scarcity. You will witness firsthand how the Vikings, masters of survival and conquest, forged an astonishingly sophisticated legal system, one that served as the unwavering foundation for their internal order, their profound sense of justice, and indeed the very launching pad for their greatest, most daring conquests. It is a system built not on scrolls, but on the very breath of generations, a living, binding tapestry of wisdom. Within the comforting, yet unexpectedly solemn warmth of the Longhouse, a small thing meeting is solemnly convened. This is no formal, imposing courtroom as you might imagine. Rather, it is an open assembly, a communal council where every voice, though not equal in weight, can be heard. Jarl Bjorn Ironside, his presence commanding, yet his demeanor radiating a profound, even-handed fairness, presides over the gathering. He acts not as a king or an autocrat, but as a just father figure to the entire community, his authority rooted in respect and wisdom, not mere power. The air inside, usually filled with the boisterous sounds of daily life, now holds a palpable tension, a taut string pulled almost to its breaking point as the community prepares to address grievances and seek resolutions. You can almost feel the collective breath held, waiting for the first word, the first accusation, the first step towards justice or chaos. The thing is a fascinating spectacle, a testament to a society built on oral tradition and communal accountability. It is here that disputes are aired, grievances brought forth, and justice sought. Anyone with a legitimate claim or grievance, man or woman, has the right to speak, to present their case before the assembled community. While not every voice carries the same weight, the respected elders, experienced warriors, and wise women often hold more sway. But the principle of being heard is paramount. You observe how individuals step forward, their voices echoing in the great hall, laying out their case. It might be a dispute over land boundaries, a stolen axe, or an argument over a fishing net. Each person speaks directly, earnestly, their words unburdened by legalistic jargon, seeking not just a verdict, but validation from their peers. It's a system that values directness over convoluted rhetoric, transparency over hidden agendas, a reflection of their pragmatic nature, a straight arrow flying to its mark. Jarl Bjorn, seated on a raised, carved wooden bench adorned with symbols of their gods and ancestors, listens intently, his eyes sweeping across the faces of those gathered, weighing their expressions as much as their words. He is the ultimate arbiter, but his role is less about imposing his will and more about guiding the community towards a consensus that upholds the established laws and preserves social harmony. He frequently consults with a small group of elders, men and women, whose memories are like living archives, holding the intricate details of past judgments and precedents. These laws, though unwritten, are deeply ingrained, passed down through sagas and long nights of storytelling, echoing whispers of truth that span generations. You realize that the law here is a fluid, evolving entity, shaped by collective experience and guided by the wisdom of their ancestors, a web of shared understanding that binds them together, far more intricate than any written decree. Consider a recent dispute, not uncommon in the harsh winter. Ragnar, a burly but often clumsy fisherman, is accused by Ilara, a sharp-eyed weaver, of accidentally snagging and tearing her precious fishing net while checking his own traps under the thick ice. Ilara stands, her back straight, her voice clear despite the tremor of anger, recounting how the tear, the size of a raven's wing, would mean weeks of painstaking repair and lost catches. Ragnar, red-faced, admits his clumsiness, but insists the ice was too thick, the light too dim, the net already old. Jarl Bjorn listens patiently to both sides, then asks for any witnesses. When none come forward, he turns to the community. Has Ragnar been known for such carelessness? He asks, his gaze sweeping across the faces. A few silent nods. And Alara's nets, are they known for their strength? Many voices murmur in agreement. Then he calls on a net maker to inspect the damage, discerning whether it was a fresh tear or an exacerbation of an old one. This meticulous process, this weighing of character and circumstance, is the heart of their justice. The punishments, too, are pragmatic, designed to restore balance rather than merely inflict pain. Most often, they involve wergild, a system of financial compensation. For Elara's torn net, Jarl Bjorn decrees that Ragnar must not only repair the net, but also compensate Elara with a portion of his next catch, or perhaps a measure of cured fish, equal to what she would have lost. This system avoids the cycle of blood feuds that could tear a community apart, instead providing a clear path to reconciliation. Justice, Jarl Bjorn once proclaimed, his voice resonating with authority, is not about shedding more blood, but about mending the torn fabric of our lives. It is about making whole what has been broken, like setting a bone so it may heal stronger than before. This practical approach to justice ensures that conflict, even when it arises, does not escalate into irreparable division. Occasionally, Jarl Bjorn might add a touch of Viking humor to lighten the mood after a tedious case. "Ragnar," he'd boom, a twinkle in his eye. "Next time, perhaps you should wear a bell when you go near Elara's nets. Or better yet, take up knitting. It's far less hazardous to community property." A ripple of laughter would spread through the thing, easing the tension, a reminder that even justice has its lighter side.
Beyond minor disputes, the thing also addresses more serious matters that could threaten the very fabric of their existence. Cases of theft, particularly during lean times, are met with stern judgment, as they undermine the collective survival. A recurring thief, for instance, might face a harsher wergild or even temporary banishment from certain communal activities. Acts of violence, while sometimes inevitable in a warrior society, are carefully scrutinized. If a fight resulted in injury, the aggressor would be liable for compensation, not just for the medical care, but also for the victim's lost labor, ensuring that justice extended beyond mere retribution to the very practical needs of the injured and their family. You marvel at the foresight embedded in these unwritten laws, how they seek to preserve the functionality of the community even in the wake of transgression. However, the most severe punishment, reserved for truly heinous crimes like murder without justification, egregious treason, or repeated, flagrant disregard for the community's laws, is outlawry. This is a terrifying fate, far more horrifying than death itself. To become an outlaw means to be cast out from the protection of the community, to be declared wolf-headed. Anyone can kill you without consequence, and no one is permitted to offer you shelter, food, or comfort. You are stripped of all rights, all connections, all humanity. Your name is erased from the sagas, your existence reduced to that of a beast. You will not receive a proper burial, nor will your soul find rest in the halls of Valhalla. Jarl Bjorn often speaks of this with a chilling gravitas. To become an outlaw, my friend, is to become a ghost among the living, a wandering shadow upon the frozen earth. You will not only be hunted by men, but by the very spirits of the land, for you have defied the sacred order. You will be like a dry leaf caught in an eternal winter wind, never finding rest, never finding warmth, until the cold finally claims you, body and soul. Frankly, even a rabid wolf has more friends. This stark warning is delivered not out of cruelty, but out of a profound understanding of the human need for belonging, for community, for the warmth of shared existence.
It makes the cold outside seem even more terrifying, a perpetual prison, a relentless silent torment. You begin to understand that this unwritten legal code, this system of oral traditions and communal judgments, is not a weakness, but a profound strength. It is flexible, adaptable, and deeply understood by everyone, unlike the rigid, often incomprehensible laws of distant, sprawling empires. The very act of a thing meeting, of people gathering to discuss and resolve disputes, reinforces their collective identity, their shared values. It is a powerful affirmation that their society is built on trust and mutual respect, not fear of a distant, abstract authority. The consensus reached, though sometimes painstakingly slow, carries the full weight of the community's will, a verdict whispered by the many, not dictated by the few. A collective voice louder than any storm. It is the very essence of their self-governance, a practical democracy born of necessity, where every individual plays a part in upholding the greater good. As the thing meeting draws to its solemn close, a palpable sense of peace, an almost tangible feeling of restored order once again settles over the Longhouse. The low murmuring of voices resumes, but now it is a sound of contentment, of security, a gentle hum of normalcy returning. You look around, taking in the scene. The faces that moments ago were taut with tension, etched with the strain of conflict, have now visibly relaxed, their features softened, their expressions reflecting a renewed sense of security. Trust, that fragile yet essential thread, has been meticulously rewoven, strengthened by the communal act of justice, binding them closer than ever before. The communal hearth fire seems to burn even brighter, its warmth a physical manifestation of the restored harmony, a glowing heart of solidarity that beats with the rhythm of shared purpose. You realize, deep in your soul, that in a world perpetually fraught with upheaval and danger, the Viking legal system did not merely help them survive the cold of their unforgiving homeland. Rather, it stood as a steadfast, unyielding pillar, a living monument of their enduring wisdom, providing the indispensable framework for the remarkable development and ambitious expansion of an entire civilization, a profound legacy of intellect and unyielding resilience that has valiantly overcome every challenge that the vast oceans of time could possibly throw at it. These ancient laws, passed down through the mists of time, are the very unwavering compass that guide them not only through the intricate complexities of daily life, but also through the vast uncharted expanses of their monumental sea voyages. For it is upon newly discovered shores that they will establish fresh orders, laying the groundwork for new settlements, new societies, built upon the very principles forged in the Longhouse. You drift into a deep, peaceful sleep, rocked by the invisible waves of justice, a cosmic lullaby that sings of order and the chaos, a quiet promise that even in the most brutal of worlds, humanity can find a way to build, to thrive, to endure.
And so, our journey through the ancient skills that allowed the Vikings to thrive amidst the biting cold comes to a tranquil close. Thank you for sharing this time with me, for listening to these tales of resilience and profound wisdom. I truly hope you found a sense of peace and perhaps some deep reflection. If you cherished this journey, please consider leaving a like, subscribing to the channel for future stories, and sharing your thoughts in the comments below about where you are listening from. Until our next adventure, may your night be filled with the most peaceful dreams.